I didn't want to think about all what happened, so I just buried my past. There were 38,000 Jews living in the northern part of Libya at the time. Today, there are none left, Mafdal had. The community is totally extinct.
If somebody wants to understand what is going on in the Middle East, they have to understand the Jewish refugees from Arab countries.
Buried beneath the headlines of the Mideast conflict is the forgotten story of the region's indigenous Jewish communities. In 1945, up to 1 million Jews lived in the Middle East outside of the Palestine Mandate. Within a few years, only a few thousand remained. The ancient Jewish quarters of Cairo, Damascus, and Baghdad were once vibrant, bustling centers. Today, they are silent. This is the story of the thousands who fled their homes, who endured in refugee camps, and who today quietly carry the memory of a destroyed civilization.
I was in Los Angeles on a business trip. I was in a hotel. There was a young lady in her mid-20s. And I could tell from her name and from her looks that she was Egyptian. So I said, Ahlan wa sahlan. He said, oh, do you speak Arabic? I said, yes. And she said, why did you leave Egypt? I said, well, I'm Jewish. He said, oh, I didn't know that there were Jews living in Egypt. And I told her the whole story. And she was shocked.
Everybody already thinks of Jews as white Europeans. Not all Jews are European.
Lulwa Khazoum is the founder of the Jewish Multicultural Project and editor of The Flying Camel, an anthology of writing by Middle Eastern Jewish women. Her father is a refugee from Baghdad.
When I sing traditional Middle Eastern and North African Jewish music, people will often say to me, it sounds Arabic. And I say to them, you know, we're not called cousins for no reason. What is Middle Eastern North African has come to be known as Arab. And people forget that there are many other indigenous peoples from the region, and the Jews are one of them.
In the year 586 BCE, Babylonian armies destroyed Solomon's temple in Jerusalem and exiled the Jews of Judea to Babylon, modern-day Iraq.
There was a short period in Jewish history where the Jews who were expelled from Palestine by the Babylonia were or had to be exiled to Babylon. So many, some hundreds of thousands of them, nobody knows exactly, had to go there.
My family is among the Jews who stayed on that land for the next 2,600 years until around 1950. Jews who stayed in the region are known as Mizrahim, which in Hebrew means Easterners. They either stayed on that land of Babylon, as my family did, or they migrated to lands throughout the region, whether it was Iran, whether it was Syria, Lebanon, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, and so on, the entire region.
The Babylonian Jewish Heritage Center near Tel Aviv is a museum established in Israel by Iraqi Jews to commemorate the achievements and destruction of their ancient community.
Now we are in synagogue, which is the very ancient synagogue in Baghdad. And this is part of the museum, which is in the center. It's a very successful museum of the exile.
Mordechai Ben Porat is the museum's founder. Born in Iraq, Ben Porat walked to Jerusalem by foot in 1945. A few years later, he was intimately involved in orchestrating the exit of 120,000 Iraqi Jews. Ben Porat's museum celebrates the accomplishments of the ancient Babylonian rabbis who wrote the Talmud, a collection of Jewish law that shapes Jewish life to this day. The name of one of those ancient rabbis is enshrined today on college campuses all across America, where Jewish student centers are called Hillel, after a rabbi who lived 2,000 years ago in what is today Iraq.
The Jews were about 2,600 years in Iraq, and when they came to Iraq, they came before the Arabs, before the Muslims, of course.
This question of precedence in territories is a very fascinating one, because many Arab countries say, oh, we are an Arab country, these Jews are like intruders from the outside, and therefore we hate them. That they could say in the Christian world. The Jews, for the most part, came to the Christian world after the war Christianity. But in many of these countries, for example, North Africa, Egypt, Babylonia, Jews preceded the Arabs by many centuries, and sometimes by millennium.
In the year 622, a new religion emerged out of the Arabian Peninsula. Within a few years, Arab Muslim armies had conquered most of the Middle East. Mizrahi Jews found themselves referred to by an Arabic word, dhimmi.
A dhimmi or a dhamma, depending on the pronunciation, is a tolerated people. It's the people of the book, Christians and Jews, people who worship, practice the Bible. And according to Islam, this is a group that's supposed to be protected. What that means is, as Islam conquered the entire Middle East, North African region and killed people in the name of Islam if they would not convert, the Jews and Christians would be spared their lives. However, they always had to be both physically and metaphorically inferior. For example, a Jew could not ride a horse because then his head would be higher than that of a Muslim. Jews could not build a synagogue higher than a mosque.
All houses in Yemen, all houses in Yemen, I mean the Jewish houses, must be lower, far lower than the Muslims. If God forbid one of the houses is a little bit higher than the of the Muslims, it will be pulled down.
You see, the dhimma, as I said, is juridical. It's very precise, but it has also economic, political, and social repercussions. And there are many of them. One, for example, the Jews and the Christians, by the way, had to wear special items of clothes in order to differentiate themselves. For example, the yellow patch. That's not a Nazi invention. It was invented back in the 8th century, and the Jews and the Christians were forced to wear it. The Jews and the Christians could not ride a horse, because horse is a noble animal. Only Muslim can. Jews and Christians had to ride a donkey or to walk on foot. And Jews and Christians could not build any house of prayer, new one. And even if they wanted to refurbish the old ones, they had to have a special permission. And even when they got permission, it could not be higher than the nearest mosque, in order to demonstrate exactly the point that Islam is supreme and nothing can be seen to compete with it. That's the issue.